Hello again, and welcome to a Christmas episode of BitNote. And once again, everybody, Merry, Merry Christmas. As I mentioned on the last Christmas episode I had, one slight problem with video games and Christmas is that they aren't really that many video games that have Christmas involved in them in any way. They're not like movies or songs or anything, or even books. You know, there aren't like a whole set of like famous Christmas-themed video games or books or whatever. In fact, I pretty much played the most popular examples of them last show. I mean, there was, of course, the Christmas Nights, which was a Christmas version, and there was Shenmue, both by Sega, so it's actually kind of nice that Sega is one of the ones that tries to push the holiday spirit. There was a Christmas version of Toy Commander, which was also made by a studio that was owned by Sega. And, of course, there was also RoboCod, which I also played last show. So, I mean, I'm pretty much scraping the bottom of the Christmas barrel in this case, trying to figure out whatever I possibly can that has something to do with both video games and music and Christmas, so that I can make a Christmas episode for you guys. But, my friends, I think I have just about managed to come through with you this year. I racked my brains and suddenly I realized, wait a second. Sure, there mightn't be many Christmas video games in the mainstream things, but what about more underground indie games? And there are a couple, really fun shareware, really cheap games that you'd get free or download or whatever. But then I thought, well, what about interactive fiction? The old text adventure. Surely there's something there. And I did some digging, and oh boy, have I found something. It has got to have the most interesting twist on the Christmas theme so far. So I think I should just probably get started with narrating it. Now, I should probably reintroduce text adventure to those who have missed out. Text adventures are basically video games, or interactive fiction as they're also known, are video games that consist entirely of text. You read what's going on through text, and you enter your commands through text. However, the game I'm about to play now has a bit more of an interesting history. It wasn't originally a video game. It was a video game that's based on a choose-your-own-adventure that appeared in a magazine, which in turn was based on a role-playing game. Not a computer role-playing game, a tabletop role-playing game. I'm going to have to explain this all afterwards, but for now, let us dive into the fascinating world of Paranoia. Let's begin, shall we? Briefing cell. Welcome to Paranoia. How to play. Very occasionally during this adventure you will be given a choice of things to do. Always choose the least dangerous option. Continue doing this until you win. At times you will use a skill or engage in combat and will be informed of the outcome. These sections will be self-explanatory. There are a few other commands you can use. Type help to find out about them. How to die. Has Philo or DMD, you will die several times during this adventure. A new clone will be activated to take your place of the one that died, in a different location. The new Philo Or will usually have to retrace some of the old Philo Or's path. Hopefully he won't make the same mistakes as his predecessor. How to win. Simply complete the mission before expending all 6 of your clones. Remember, stay alert and keep your laser handy. Paranoia, a not very interactive future. From an article by Sam Shirley, implemented in C on the VAX 11780 by Tim Lister, converted to Inform by Glenn Hutchings. Type help for a list of valid commands. Release 1, serial number, we can skip that. Briefing cell. You wake up face down in the pink and red checked, easy clean linoleum floor. You recognize the pattern. It's the type preferred in the internal security briefing cells. When you finally look around you, you see that you are alone in a large mission briefing room. Type C to continue the mission. Okay, let's continue. C. Briefing cell. In the center of the room is a table and a single chair. There is an orange folder on the tabletop, but you can't make out the lettering on it. Do you sit down and read the folder, or you leave the room? Well, this is the world of Paranoia. Sometimes you've got to be very careful about being too informed. You see, the world of Paranoia is an interesting one, which I have essentially... There are many rules you must obey, and disobeying the rules will get you killed. However, in some cases, trying to actually learn about what these rules are will also get you killed. So, yeah, you can see why players of this game have such a high mortality rate. I think I'll choose to sit down and read the folder. Briefing cell. The printing on the folder says Experimental Self-Briefing. You open it and begin to read the following. Step 1. Compel the briefing subject to attend the briefing. Note, see Experimental Briefing Subform Indigo WY2 Experimental Self-Briefing Subject Acquisition through the use of neurotoxin room foggers. Step 2. Inform the briefing subject that the briefing has begun. Attention! The briefing has begun. Step 3. Present the briefing material to the briefing subject. Greetings, troubleshooter. By the way, that's what you are in the game. You see, this is a world run over by a computer and everything, but a troubleshooter is someone who finds trouble and then shoots it, essentially. Greetings, and that's pretty much how you play who you are in the game. You have been specially selected to single-handedly wipe out a den of traitorous Christmas activity. Your mission is to go to the goods distribution hall 7 Beta and access any Christmas activity you find there. You are to infiltrate these Christmas celebrants, locate their ringleader, an unknown master retailer, and bring him back for execution and trial. Thank you, the computer is your friend. Yes, that's always the computer. Step 4. Sign the briefing subject's briefing release form to indicate that the briefing subject has been completed the briefing. Attention, please sign your briefing release form. Step 5. Terminate the briefing. Attention, the briefing is terminated. You walk to the door and hold your signed briefing release form up to the plexiglass window. A guard scrutinizes it for a moment and then slides back the megabolts holding the door shut. You are now free to continue the mission. 1. You wish to ask the computer for more information about Christmas. 2. You've decided to go directly to Goods Distribution Hall 7 Beta. Let's ask the computer. 1. You walk to the nearest computer and request more information about Christmas. The computer says, that is an A1 ultraviolet only immediate termination classified topic. What is your clearance, please, troubleshooter? Okay, I can give my correct clearance or lie and claim ultraviolet clearance. I'm going to lie to the computer because telling the truth will get me killed anyway, and at least lying has a minor chance of actually surviving. Computer says, troubleshooter, you're not wearing the correct color uniform. That's kind of how it works. In this universe, you've got everything from infrared, then red, yellow, green, indigo, but all the way to indigo, violet, and ultraviolet. So each color represents a clearance level. And essentially, ultraviolet is the highest clearance, and then you can do pretty much anything. But if you're at lower color, then you're kind of screwed. You're not wearing the correct color uniform. You must put on an ultraviolet uniform immediately. I have seen your needs and ordered one already. It will be here shortly. Please wait with your back to the wall until it arrives. In less than a minute, an infrared arrives carrying a white bundle. He asks you to time for it and then hands it to you and stands back well outside a fragmentation grenade's blast radius. Okay, do I open the package and put the uniform on, or finally come to your senses and run for it? Yeah, I'm least dangerous option. I'm making a legger for it. Number 2. The corridor lights dim and are replaced by red battle lamps as security breach alarms howl all around you. You run headlong down the corridor, desperately windmill around a corner, only to collide with a squad of 12 blue clearance vulture squadron soldiers. Stop, slimeface, shouts the commander, or there won't be enough of you left for a tissue sample. All right, soldiers, stuff this greasy traitor in the uniform, he orders, waving the business end of a blue laser scant inches from your nose. With the other hand, he shakes open a white bundle to reveal a pristine new ultraviolet citizen's uniform. One of the Vulture Squadron troubleshooters grabs you by the neck in an exotic and very painful vulture clamp, trademark, death grip. You saw a special about those on the Tila O'Malley show, while the rest tear off your clothes and force you into the ultraviolet uniform. The moment you are dressed, they step clear and they stand to attention. Thank you for your cooperation, sir, said the steely-eyed leader of the Vulture Squad. We will be going about our business now. With perfect timing, the vultures wheel smartly and goose step down the corridor. Special note, don't make the mistake of assuming that your skills have improved because of the uniform. You're only a red troubleshooter traitorously posing as an ultraviolet. And don't you forget it. Suddenly, the computer terminal comes to life. Type C to continue. Now, about your question, citizen. Christmas was an old-world marketing ploy to induce lower clearance citizens to purchase vast quantity of goods, thus accumulation a large amount of credit under the control of a single class of citizen known as retailers. The strategy used is to imply that all good citizens give gifts during Christmas, thus if one wishes to be a valuable member of society, one must give gifts during Christmas. More valuable gifts make one a more valuable member. and thus did the retailers come to control a disproportionate amount of currency. In this way, Christmas eventually caused the collapse of the old world. Understandably, Christmas has been declared as treasonable practice in Alpha Complex. Thank you for your inquiry. You continue on your way to GDH7 Beta. As you can see, this is set somewhat in the future. You nervously select a tube car and step abroad. You step into the shiny pastel tube car, wondering why the shape has always reminded you of a bullet. The car shoots forwards the instant your feet touch the slippery grey floor, pinning you immobile against the back wall as the tube car careens towards GDH7 Beta. Your only solace is the knowledge that it could be worse, much worse. Before too long, the car comes to a stop. You can see signs for GDH7 Beta through the window. With a little practice, you discover that you can crawl through the door and pull open the hatch. Type C to continue the mission. You manage to pull yourself out of the tube car and walk around. Before you is one of the most confusing things you've ever seen. A hallway that is simultaneously both red and green clearance. If this is the result of Christmas, then it is easy to see the evil inherent in this practice. You are at the heart of a large goods distribution centre. You can see about you evidence of traitorous secret society Christmas celebration. Rubber-faced robots whiz back and forth selling toys to holiday shoppers. Simul-blast wreaths hang on every light fixture. While ahead in the shadows is a citizen wearing a huge red synthetic flower. You are searching goods distribution hall 7 Beta. You walk into the centre of a hall, oogling like an infrared fresh from the clone bats. Towering before you is the most unearthly thing you have ever seen. A green, multi-armed mutant horror, hulking 15 feet above your head. Its skeletal body is draped with hundreds of metallic strips, probably to negate the effects of some insidious mutant power, and the entire hideous creature is wrapped in 1,000 blinking hazard lights. It's times like this when you wish you'd had some training for this job. Luckily, the creature doesn't take notice of you, but stands unmoving, as though waiting for a summons from its dark lord, the master retailer. That's wham! Suddenly you are struck from behind. By the way, that's the thing in this. There are mutants and secret societies. So secret societies are obviously quiet, and mutants are things that some are obvious, but others sort of like have telekinetic ability or some sort of special ability or something. Type C to continue the mission. Quickly, you regain your balance, whirl and fire a laser at the ultraviolet citizen behind you. For a moment, your heart leaps to your throat. Then you realize that he indeed is dead, and you will be the only one filing a report on this incident. Besides, he was participating in this traitorous Christmas shopping, as is evident from the rain of shoddy toys falling all around you. Another valorous deed done in the service of the computer. Type C to continue the mission. You are standing over the dead body of a dead ultraviolet citizen. 1, you search the body, keeping an eye open for internal security. 2, you run away like the cowardly dog you are. 2. You are searching the goods distribution hall 7 Beta. Type C to continue. Psst! Hey citizen, come here. Psst! You hear. When you peer around, you see someone's dim outline in the shadows. I got some information on the master retailer. It'll only cost you 30 credits. 1, you pay 30 credits for the info. 2, you would rather threaten him for information. Or 3, you ignore him and walk away. Well, I believe we see what the correct option here is. 2. Like any good troubleshooter, you make the least expensive decision and threaten him for information. With lightning-like reflexes, you whip out your laser and stick it up his nose. Talk, you traitorous Christmas celebrator, or who knows what will happen to you, yuck yuck. You pun menacingly, and then you notice something very wrong. He doesn't have a nose. As a matter of fact, he's made of 1/8 inch cardboard, and your laser is sticking through the other side of his head. Are you going to pay, says his mouth speaker, or are you going to psst, go away, stupid? Do you pay the 30 credits, or do you psst, go away, stupid? I think I'll pay the 30 credits. Or, I'll go away, actually. You're still searching goods distribution hall 7 Beta. You are set upon by a hungry robot with a queer-looking face and 2 pointy rubber ears poking from beneath a tattered cap. Hey, mister, it says, you've done all your last-minute Christmas shopping? I got some real neat junk here. You don't want to miss big day tomorrow, if you know what I mean. The robot opens its bag to show you a pile of shoddy troubleshooter dolls. It reaches in and pulls one of them. Look at these action troubleshooter TM dolls are the neatest thing. One's got a movable arm, so when you squeeze him, this little rifle squirts realistic-looking napalm. It's only 50 credits. Oh yeah, Merry Christmas. I think I'll ignore him and keep searching, because obviously any sort of Christmas shopping is a traitorous activity, and yet I support the computer, and all the computer's will must be enabled, because otherwise I'll be killed, and mostly people I know. Continue on. I keep continuing. You walk to the center, oogling like a fresh insert. Once again, you see the great big hazardous monster with the blinking hazard lights and the green 15-foot monster. Wham! Suddenly you are struck from behind. Type C. Oh no, you can't keep your balance. You are falling headfirst into the Christmas beast's gaping maw. It's a valiant struggle. You think you are gone when its poisonous needles dig into your flesh, but with heroic efforts you jerk a string of lights free and jam the live wires into the creature's spine. The Christmas beast topples to the ground and begins to burn, filling the area with a thick, acrid smoke. It takes only a moment to compose yourself. Then you are ready to continue your search for the master retailer. And so I search again. Searching. And, psst, citizen, come here. When you look around, you can see someone's dim outline in the shadows. I got some information on the mass retailer. It only costs you 30 credits. Okay, obviously I've seemed to have come across robots and burning Christmas bees, so obviously I need to pay this guy the 30 credits and not just fall for it again. I paid 30 credits. You step into the shadows and offer a man 30 credit bill. Just drop it on the floor, he says. So you're looking for the master retailer? Psst, I've seen him. He's a fat man in a fuzzy red and white jumpsuit. They say he's a high programmer with no respect for proper security. If you want to find him, then step behind me and go through the door. Behind the man is a reinforced blast door. The center of it has been buckled towards you in a manner you only saw once before when you were field testing a rocket-assist plasma slingshot. You found it was easily portable, but prone to misfire. Luckily, it isn't buckled too far for you to make out a warning sign. Warning, don't open this door or the same thing will happen to you. Opening this door is a capital offense. Do not do it. Not at all. This is not a joke. Do I use my precognition mutant power on opening the door? You just decide to go through the door anyway, or decide it's too dangerous and walk away? Well, 1. That familiar strange feeling of déjà vu envelops you again. It is hard to say, but whatever is on the other side of that door does not seem to be intended for you. Okay. Let's go. Go through the door and step through. In the barrel. You release the meg bolts on the blast door and then strain against it with your awesome strength. Slowly the door creaks open. You bravely leap through the opening and smack your head into the barrel of a 300mm ultra-shock class plasma cannon. It's dark in the barrel now, but just before your head got stuck, you can remember seeing a group of technicians anxiously watch as you leap into the room. Continue. Oh, no, oh, master, you hear through the gun barrel. Where have you been? Is it time for the great Christmas gifting ceremony? You had better hurry and get your costume on, or the trainee may begin to suspect. For a second time today, you are forced to wear an attire not of your own choosing. They zip the suit up to your chin as you hear gunfire up behind you. Oh no, who left the door open? The commies will get in. Quick, fire the laser cannon or we're doomed. Too late, Too late, you capitalist swine. The People's Revolutionary Strike Force claims this cannon for the proletariat's valiant struggle against oppression. Take that, you running dog imperialist lackey. Zap! Kapow! Just when you think things couldn't get any worse. Aha! Look what we have here. The master retailer himself with his head caught in his own cannon. His death will serve as a symbol of freedom for the Alpha Complex. Fire the cannon! Clone 1 has just died. Clone 2 now activated. Okay. I think I'll leave it like that. As what normally happens in the game is your clone takes over and it has to keep going on its mission and blah-de-blah. In this case, it would have been starting back from the briefing room again, and I think you've got a flavour. Paranoia, as I've said, is originally a tabletop role-playing game. Now, I haven't really covered tabletop role-playing games, but they're basically ones you play with your friends, usually with a great book explaining what all the rules of the game are, and usually there's a bit of rolling dice going around and having fun. Paranoia is set in a darkly comedic world where basically everything is ruled over by a computer that seems to exhibit extremely erratic behavior, but you're always told that the computer is your friend, that you must be really, really happy with the computer. And of course, that's kind of what everyone has to do. Everyone tries to try to be happy and try to eliminate all the mutants and all the secret societies and live out the role of the computer and try not to damn well get killed. The thing is, the game's kind of almost like a parody of itself. I mean, as I said, trying to learn about rules can get you killed. The most craziest things can get you killed. And countlessly malfunctioning items can get you killed as well. For instance, in that game I just played, when you got into the shuttle, it's possible to accidentally end up into a garbage disposal shuttle and just get shot off pretty much the surface of the planet. In fact, I had managed to have one game of Paranoia a while back with with a bunch of friends at this event we were at, and I died 5 times just trying to get to the briefing room. In one case, I put on a hat without thinking, and it turned out to have a colour that was above my clearance level, and so I got killed. On another case, what happened was that we were to take a lift down or else the computer would kill us. The doors opened. One of the guys jammed the doors open. We all jumped through the doors of the elevator and suddenly found that the elevator wasn't in a shaft, and we all plunged to our deaths. That's pretty much how it goes. You're basically bouncing from thing to thing, trying to not completely muck things up, and hopefully your mission will go in a way that's better than not completely terrible. Games like this are usually played with one being like the games master, the one who has like the book, the rules, the whole plot. And in this case, she was acting as the computer and doing a damn good computer. And basically, she was directing all what happens, telling us, narrating our events. We'd all try to do the given actions or hand her like secret actions that we wanted to perform without our teammates knowing. Oh yeah, I forgot that. Part of what we have to do is often involves backstabbing our own teammates. So we've got a group of troubleshooters. We're all desperately trying to complete the mission so that the computer won't kill us. But we're also often trying to do whatever mission whatever secret society we're part of. And we've also got a mutant ability, which is grounds enough for us to be killed anyway. So trying to sneak through this darkly treacherous bureaucratic nightmare, often trying to backstab your own teammates and still trying to come out smelling like roses at the other end is an incredibly daunting task, and one reason why it's very good to have several backup clones of you are given to you. You have 6 clones, they're called a 6-pack. What I just read wasn't actually just a text adventure based on the game, it was actually based on another sort of game entirely, a choose your own adventure game. These are sort of games where basically you've got a great big book or a text book. You usually play it yourself, and you read through at the beginning of the story, and you're usually given an option. And it says, if you choose this option, turn to page 2. If you get this option, turn to page 3. I played so many of these games, like by Ian Livingstone and Steve Jackson. They all had them in the local library, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of times it would take place in a kind of a generic fantasy setting. Other times it would been exploring this great big maze. And I remember one time it was set in like a post-apocalyptic world where you were driving around in cars that shot rockets and spilt oil and shards right at the back. So there was a great diversity of the stories you could play, and just trying to make the right decisions and then engaging in little battles with everyone by rolling a dice. But while most of these games were in books and the like, this one was actually published in a magazine called Space Gamer Fantasy Gamer, which dealt a lot with these sort of like tabletop role-playing games. Indeed, I mentioned Steve Jackson, who made a lot of Choose Your Own Adventure games. He actually was involved with that magazine in some ways. But he wasn't the one who actually created this text adventure game. This text adventure game based on Paranoia was published in the magazine in 1987, and it was written by Sam Shirley. And as I said, it was later programmed into a video game by Tim Lister, and then Glenn Hutchings actually just changed the format, which made it easier to actually play on other computers. So what we basically have at the end of it is that there was a tabletop game created, which a lot of people liked. This was adapted into a Choose Your Own Adventure game in a magazine, and this about games. And then this Choose Your Own Adventure game was adapted into a video game. So, yeah, it's kind of funny that little path that thing has taken. The game is pretty short, but if you want to finish it, it can be found online, and it's pretty easy to play. Just look up Paranoia Text Adventure. But I think that as fun as that game was, I don't think anything quite beats that experience I had actually playing the tabletop game with my friends at that event a while back. I mean, I was working with some great friends there. There were some hilarious moments. It's just a great, good-natured game. You can dive into it. You don't need to like create a character or keep rolling dice or all the other sort of mundane stuff. It's got a crazy sense of humor. You're constantly kept on your toes, and it's just great for getting great reactions out of people. In fact, I think the games master in that case, I think one of her favorite things was the reaction she was getting out of me, as I utterly despaired at how everything I seemed to do seemed to completely screw over myself and whichever clone I was using at the time. So yeah, I think nothing like playing a game with some good friends and having a good time in the process. All right. One thing that Choose Your Own Adventure games, text adventures, and tabletop RPGs usually have in common: they don't have any music. So, since this is generally a video game music show, I'm still stuck for a bit of music to play for you. But I managed to come up with something, and it involves a cheat. Yes, as I said before, there are barely any Christmas video games out there, and a couple more games actually have Christmas as a level, although we'll see about that for next year. But I managed to realize that, a lot of times, there might be a Christmas movie or a Christmas song, and when you listen to it, you realize, wait a second, this isn't really about Christmas. So a lot of these things get Christmas attributes without actually being Christmassy. I mean, I was singing a bit of Love of the Common People by, Paul Young. Living in the world of the common people. So the song gets played a lot during Christmas time, and one time I started singing it when it wasn't Christmas, and thinking I was a rebel, when suddenly I hear it on the radio and suddenly realize the song isn't about Christmas, it doesn't mention Christmas, and yet it's really associated as a Christmas song. I mean, probably the biggest example is Jingle Bells. So, I figure, if all these people can classify these not quite Christmassy things as Christmas songs, I can do the damn same thing with video games. And that's why I've chosen Tux Racer. Tux Racer is a game where you are a penguin who slides down a snowy mountain slope. It might sound like a simple and basic game, and that's because it is a simple and basic game. You're a penguin and you slide down the mountain. The game is actually pretty damn well known because, for a start, it's an open source game. I've covered open source in a previous episode. It's basically when the actual code, the actual blueprints of the game are made available for anyone to use and modify and create their own games with. So it's an open source game, and it was made practically a decade ago at this stage, and it was a fun 3D game where you're sliding the penguin down the mountain, had these great graphic effects a bit of refraction, and that when your penguin went over snow, it would leave this groove in the snow behind you, which was a nice effect. But it also became very popular among Linux gamers due to lack of actual alternatives. Now, Linux is an operating system. When you turn on the computer, an operating system is the most basic program that runs on it. It is the program where every other program runs on top of it. And every computer has an operating system. Most computers have a Windows operating system made by Microsoft, but if you've got a Mac, it will have the Mac OS X operating system, which is made by Apple. But Linux is an open source operating system made by countless companies and contributors. It's open source, so anyone can modify it, create their own version of it, change it, and there are many popular Linux distributions out there, such as Ubuntu, Fedora, SUSE, and many others. However, as great as these operating systems were, for a long time there weren't really many games for it. There were early companies like Loki that did some porting of games for Linux, but then it kind of trailed off a bit, and things came pretty trickier. Now it's different now. There's a huge push towards Linux gaming with the Humble Bundle, and also Valve bringing over Steam, which is a distribution system, as well as games like Team Fortress 2. But for a long stretch, there weren't many Linux games. So among all this lack of competition, suddenly Tux Racer became pretty damn well known. The reasons are multiple. It was open source, therefore it was easy to get running on Linux platforms, and of course it contained a penguin, and one of the things about Linux is that it has the mascot of a penguin, so therefore it became associated with Linux and Linux gaming. The song I'm about to play was actually the stage music, which actually is very fine, but it gets really annoying and looping after a while, so just be thankful you're only hearing it once. The music itself is composed by Joseph Toscano, who's made a lot of music for different video games, such as other open source games, Battle of Wesnoth and Pingus. Tux Racer was originally developed by Jasmine Patry and went on to be further developed by Sunspire Studios. This has been David Collins with BitNote. Merry Christmas.